The sprawling city of Valoran Prime was a hub of intergalactic activity, its skies alive with the constant traffic of ships darting between glittering spires and bustling markets. The air buzzed with the hum of engines and the distant chatter of 1,000 voices, blending into a symphony of unceasing motion. Amid the cacophony of diverse species and languages, a small, nondescript research facility stood hidden in plain sight, its drab exterior betraying nothing of the marvel within. Inside, the air was heavy with tension, punctuated by the low hum of machinery and the occasional nervous rustle of papers, as if the entire room held its breath in anticipation. A group of scientists and engineers, representing some of the most advanced species in the galaxy, stood in a semicircle around a gleaming suit of armor suspended in a transparent containment field. Its sleek, metallic surface shimmered faintly as if alive, with intricate patterns etched along its plates pulsing gently, like veins carrying an enigmatic energy. Despite its extraordinary design, the atmosphere in the room was anything but triumphant. "Another failure," Director Krax growled, his serpentine tail flicking in irritation. His scales gleamed under the harsh laboratory lights as he glared at the data projected on a holographic display. "How is it possible? The Virith protocol is supposed to bond with any compatible warrior. Why does it reject every candidate?" A small, insectoid engineer named Zicthr clicked their mandibles nervously. "Perhaps the compatibility parameters are too specific, Director. We've tested over 100 individuals from 30 different species. None of them have bonded." Krax's glare shifted to the armor, his frustration palpable. "The Virith protocol is our species' greatest achievement. This armor was designed to turn its wearer into an unstoppable force, capable of protecting entire worlds. And yet it refuses us." "What if the problem isn't the armor?" a voice interjected from the corner of the room. The group turned to see Dr. Elara Quinn, the lone human in the facility. Her dark hair was pulled back in a no-nonsense ponytail, and her sharp eyes held a spark of determination. Despite her relatively small stature compared to some of the other species present, she commanded attention. "Explain," Krax said, his tone edged with skepticism, his eyes narrowing as if already dismissing her suggestion. "We've been assuming the issue lies in the candidates," Elara said, stepping forward. "But what if the problem lies in our understanding of the armor? We've been treating it like a piece of technology, something that can be programmed or engineered. But the Virith protocol is more than that. It's alive in a sense. It's not just looking for a warrior, it's looking for the right connection." The room fell silent as her words sank in. Krax narrowed his eyes. "Are you suggesting the armor is sentient?" Elara nodded. "I've studied the data from every failed bonding attempt. The armor doesn't just reject candidates, it actively repels them. It's almost as if it's waiting for someone specific. And you believe you know who that someone is?" Krax asked, his tone dripping with doubt. Elara hesitated, then squared her shoulders. "I think it might be worth considering a human candidate." The room erupted in a cacophony of objections. Several engineers chittered and hissed in disbelief, while others exchanged incredulous glances. Krax raised a hand, silencing the uproar. "A human?" he said, his voice tinged with disdain. "With respect, Dr. Quinn, humans are among the least advanced species in the galaxy. What makes you think one of your kind could succeed where others have failed?" Elara's jaw tightened, but she kept her tone calm. "Humans may not have the physical strength of the Grachner or the telepathic abilities of the Zenari, but we have something else. Adaptability, resilience, and a knack for turning the impossible into opportunity. The ability to thrive in situations that seem impossible. The Virith protocol isn't looking for raw power, it's looking for someone who can connect with it on a deeper level. And I believe a human could be that someone." Krax studied her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Finally he sighed. "Very well. If you're so confident, you may proceed. But if this fails, I will personally ensure that your involvement in this project is terminated." Elara nodded, determination hardening her gaze. "Understood." 2 days later, Elara stood in the bonding chamber, her heart pounding as she prepared for the moment of truth. The armor had been moved into the center of the room, its surface gleaming under the chamber's lights. She had spent hours reviewing every piece of data, every failed attempt, searching for patterns and clues. Now it all came down to this. "You don't have to do this, you know," Zicthr said, their voice buzzing with worry. "The risks are considerable. The last candidate was nearly incinerated when the armor rejected him." "I appreciate your concern," Elara said, managing a small smile. "But if there's even a chance this could work, I have to try. Taking a deep breath, she stepped into the containment field, the faint hum of its energy enveloping her like static electricity, raising the fine hairs on her arms. The armor seemed to react to her presence, its surface pulsing faintly as if waking from a long slumber. Elara reached out, her fingers brushing against the cool metal. A surge of energy coursed through her, making her gasp. The room around her seemed to blur, and she felt an overwhelming sense of awareness, as if the armor was studying her just as intently as she was studying it. "You've got this," she whispered to herself, her voice barely audible. Slowly, she extended her hand toward the chest plate. The armor's response was immediate. The pieces began to shift and reconfigure, moving with a fluidity that defied explanation. Before she could react, the armor enveloped her, its cool surface molding to her body with an almost organic fluidity, the plates sliding into place as though guided by an unseen purpose. The room erupted in a mixture of gasps and shouts as the containment field flared brightly, bathing the room in a dazzling display of light before finally stabilizing. Elara's vision was flooded with information, streams of data, schematics, and unfamiliar symbols that somehow made sense. She felt an incredible surge of strength, her every movement enhanced by the armor's power. "Dr. Quinn?" Crax's voice crackled through the intercom, tinged with a rare note of astonishment. "Can you hear me?" Elara turned toward the observation window, her movements smooth and effortless. "I hear you," she said, her voice amplified and resonant through the armor. "And I think it's working." As the realization sank in, a wave of exhilaration swept through her. For the first time in decades, the Virith protocol had bonded. The armor had found its chosen wearer, and it had chosen a human. But even as she reveled in the moment, an unsettling question lingered in the back of her mind, casting a shadow over her triumph. Why had it chosen her? And what would it ask of her in return? Elara stood motionless in the center of the bonding chamber, encased in the Virith armor. The air around her felt charged, and the faint hum of the armor resonated in her ears, blending with her steady heartbeat. The metallic plates felt weightless yet unyielding, as though they had become a part of her. The streams of alien data flooding her vision gradually resolved into comprehensible displays, weaving together schematics, energy readings, and tactical overlays she didn't recognize but somehow instinctively grasped. The armor's presence was overwhelming, like standing in the eye of a storm, yet it carried no hostility, only a strange, almost symbiotic connection. "Dr. Quinn?" Crax's voice echoed over the intercom again, breaking her trance. "How do you feel?" Elara flexed her fingers, watching the segmented plates of the gauntlets move fluidly with her motions. She took a tentative step forward, and the armor responded seamlessly. "I feel fine," she replied, her voice resonating through the chamber. "Better than fine. It's like the armor knows what I'm going to do before I do it." The observation room erupted into murmurs. Crax's face appeared on a nearby monitor, his sharp features betraying a mixture of astonishment and suspicion. "Remarkable. But we need more than vague impressions. What exactly is it telling you?" Elara hesitated. She wasn't sure how to explain it. The armor's touch on her mind was subtle, more like a whisper than a voice. It conveyed concepts and impressions rather than words. She closed her eyes, focusing on the sensation. "It's guiding me. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like it's trying to show me something." "Show you what?" Crax pressed. Before Elara could answer, the chamber shuddered violently. The floor trembled beneath her feet, the lights sputtered and cast jagged shadows, and an alarm blared through the facility, its piercing tone vibrating in her chest. Eris, the facility's AI, interrupted with a calm but urgent announcement. "Alert. Perimeter breach detected. Unidentified vessel approaching at high velocity." Crax cursed under his breath. "ZTHR, get the defense grid online." "Elara, report to the control room immediately." Elara didn't move. Instead, she turned toward the chamber's entrance, her heart pounding. The armor's presence flared in her mind, filling her with a sense of urgency. Images and symbols flashed across her vision, coalescing into a single, unmistakable impression: danger. "Wait," she said, her voice cutting through the din. "It's trying to tell me something about the breach." Crax's voice snapped back through the intercom. "What are you talking about? The armor doesn't know anything about." "It does," Elara interrupted. "I don't know how, but it does. It's scanning. The vessel isn't just an attacker. It's here for the armor." Silence fell over the intercom. Then Crax's voice returned, low and tense. "If that's true, then we're in more trouble than we thought." The observation room's monitors lit up with a view of the intruding vessel. It was a sleek, menacing design, black with glowing red edges, like a predatory bird. The ship darted through the air with predatory elegance, its sharp silhouette illuminated by glowing red edges that streaked like fire as it evaded the facility's automated turrets. Alarms continued to blare as Krax shouted orders. "They're not here to negotiate," Ziktichar said, their mandibles clicking in agitation. "That's a Valtari warship. They'll tear this place apart to get what they want." "Let them try," Elara said, her voice steady. She surprised even herself with the conviction in her tone. The armor's influence was growing stronger, filling her with confidence she couldn't explain. "I'm taking the armor into the field?" Krax's face reappeared on the monitor, his expression a mix of anger and incredulity. "Absolutely not. That armor is our only bargaining chip. If you're killed, we lose everything. And if I don't go, they'll take it anyway," Elara shot back. "You said it yourself. The armor is our greatest achievement. It's time to see what it can do." Krax hesitated, but the alarms and the sound of distant explosions made his decision for him. "Fine. But if you die out there, it's on you?" Elara nodded and turned to leave the chamber. As she stepped into the corridor, the armor systems began to activate. Her vision adjusted, overlaying tactical readouts and maps onto her surroundings. Every step felt effortless, her movements fluid and precise, as if the armor had awakened a hidden strength, an untapped potential she hadn't known was within her. She was no longer just a scientist in a suit, she was a weapon forged for battle. The facility's main doors groaned under the relentless assault, their metallic frames warping and cracking as energy blasts rained down from the invading drones. The intruders had deployed ground forces, sleek, insectoid drones armed with energy weapons that tore through the outer defenses with alarming efficiency. Elara didn't hesitate. She stepped forward, raising her armored arms instinctively. The armor responded, projecting a shimmering energy shield that absorbed the first volley of incoming fire. "Not bad," she muttered, her lips curling into a smirk. She raised her other arm, and a pulse of energy shot forward, obliterating a cluster of drones in a single blinding blast. The battle that followed unfolded in a frenetic dance of motion and light, with energy blasts slicing through the air and the armor responding with unwavering precision. The armor moved with an intelligence of its own, guiding Elara's actions while amplifying her strength and reflexes. Drones fell in waves as she pushed forward, each step driving the invaders back. For the first time, she understood the true potential of the Virith protocol. But the enemy was relentless. The warship hovered ominously above, its weapons raining destruction on the facility. Elara knew she couldn't hold the line alone. "Eris," she called out, her voice steady despite the chaos. "Can you disable their ship?" "Negative," the AI replied. "Their systems are heavily shielded. However, I've identified a potential weak point in their power core. If you can reach it, you may be able to disable the vessel." "Got it," Elara said. She turned to Ziktichar, who had taken cover behind a nearby console. "I need you to cover me. Keep the drones off my back while I get to that ship." Ziktichar hesitated, then nodded. "Understood. Good luck, Dr. Quinn." Elara didn't wait for further encouragement. The armor propelled her forward, launching her into the air with a powerful leap. She soared toward the warship, her vision focused on the faint glow of its power core. The drones swarmed after her, but the armor's shields held firm. With every movement, she felt the bond between her and the armor deepen, their connection growing stronger. She landed on the ship's hull with a resounding clang. The surface was smooth and cold, the vibrations of the warship's engines humming beneath her boots, but the armor anchored her firmly in place with unwavering precision. Tactical readouts filled her vision as she located the access point to the core. A blast of energy from her gauntlet breached the hatch, and she descended into the heart of the enemy vessel. The interior was dark and oppressive, the air heavy with heat and the faint tang of burnt metal. Pulsing red lights from the core cast eerie shadows across the walls, adding to the oppressive atmosphere. Elara moved cautiously, the armor's sensors scanning for threats. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the low, rhythmic hum of machinery and the occasional crackle of distant energy discharges. She reached the core chamber and paused, taking in the sight of the massive, glowing structure that powered the warship. "Eris, I'm in," she said. "What's the plan?" "Overload the core's energy matrix," Eris replied. "But be advised. Once the process begins, you will have limited time to evacuate." "Understood," Elara said. She approached the core, her armored hands glowing with energy as she began the override sequence. The core's hum swelled to a deafening roar, its pulsating light flooding the chamber in waves of crimson brilliance as the override process accelerated. The ship. Ilara's focus sharpened as the core's energy surged, bathing the chamber in a pulsating crimson light that flickered like a heartbeat, casting jagged, ominous shadows across the walls. The vibrations from the core thrummed through her boots, the heat pressing against her like a living force. The override sequence progressed rapidly, streams of alien data cascading across her vision in a chaotic dance of symbols and schematics. The armor's presence filled her mind, a steady but overwhelming force, like a guiding hand that demanded her full trust. She could feel the ship resisting her intrusion, systems redirecting energy to thwart her efforts. Core destabilization at 40%, Eris's calm voice informed her. Warning, enemy reinforcements inbound. Ilara gritted her teeth. How much time do I have? Approximately 3 minutes before critical overload, Eris replied. Evacuation is strongly recommended. Noted, Ilara muttered. She adjusted her stance, the armor anchoring her securely as the ship's vibrations intensified. Her vision flashed with alerts. The drones were breaching the core chamber. The hatch behind her erupted inward with a deafening roar, releasing a swarm of insectoid drones whose metallic exoskeletons shimmered menacingly in the crimson light, their razor-edged limbs slicing through the air as they advanced. Energy blasts lit up the room, slamming into the armor's shields with deafening impacts. Ilara spun, raising her arm as the armor vibrated with raw energy, unleashing a concentrated pulse that carved a searing arc of light through the incoming swarm, disintegrating the nearest drones into shards of molten metal. The blast ripped through the front line of drones, sending fragments scattering across the chamber. Come on, she muttered, her voice steady despite the chaos. The armor responded with precision, adapting to her every move. She dodged incoming fire, her movements a seamless blend of agility and power. Each step brought her closer to the core, her focus unwavering as she defended her position. Core destabilization at 60%, Eris reported. Hostile reinforcements increasing. I see that, Ilara snapped, dodging another volley of fire. She extended her arm, activating a shield that absorbed the incoming blasts. The armor's energy reserves fluctuated, a warning flashing across her vision. She couldn't hold the line much longer. Ilara status? Krax's voice crackled over the comm. His tone was sharp, laced with urgency. Holding for now, she replied, her voice clipped. The core's almost destabilized. I just need a little more time. We're trying to suppress the ground forces, but the warship's firepower is considerable, Krax admitted. Can you make it out? Ilara hesitated, her gaze locked on the core. The core's glow grew erratic, its frantic pulsations creating a strobe effect that painted the chamber in chaotic flashes of red and shadow, as if the ship itself were panicking. Not yet, she said. I need to finish this. The drones pressed their assault, their relentless fire forcing Ilara to retreat toward the core. She activated her energy gauntlets, unleashing a barrage of precision blasts that tore through their ranks. The armor's systems hummed with strain, its reserves depleting rapidly. She needed to act fast. Core destabilization at 85%, Eris announced. Critical levels imminent. Ilara's breath came in sharp bursts as she pushed herself harder. The armor's voice, or was it a thought, whispered in her mind, guiding her movements. She felt the connection deepen, as though the armor's consciousness was merging with her own. Every action became instinctive, their bond unshakable. With one final surge of effort, Ilara directed her energy toward the core's matrix, initiating the final override. The chamber erupted in a violent cascade of blinding light and a bone-rattling roar, the core's collapse sending concussive shockwaves through the structure, shaking its very foundation. The drones faltered, their movements erratic as the ship's systems buckled under the strain. Core destabilization at 100%, Eris confirmed. Complete system failure imminent. Evacuate immediately. Ilara didn't hesitate. She turned and sprinted toward the breach, her movements powered by the armor's propulsion systems. The corridor ahead was a blur of flashing lights and collapsing structures as the ship began to tear itself apart. Explosions ripped through the vessel, each blast reverberating like rolling thunder, pounding against her helmet as the walls buckled and groaned under the relentless strain. A sudden impact sent her sprawling as a section of the ceiling collapsed behind her. She rolled to her feet, her shields flickering under the strain. Eris, I need an exit route, she shouted. Rerouting navigation, the AI replied. Proceed to the main airlock. Estimated time to structural collapse. 90 seconds? Elara pushed forward, dodging debris and blasts from the few remaining drones. The armor system strained to maintain its shields, warning lights flashing in her vision. Her breath was ragged, but her focus remained razor-sharp. She reached the airlock just as the warship's internal systems failed completely. The atmosphere vented with a deafening roar, and Elara activated the armor's magnetic anchors to hold her position. The vacuum of space tore at her, but the armor held firm, its systems adapting to the hostile environment. "Eris, open the airlock," she ordered. "Working," the AI replied. The airlock door groaned as it began to open, the mechanism sluggish under the ship's failing power. The moment the door was wide enough, Elara propelled herself into space. The warship behind her was a dying star, its core collapsing in a blaze of fire and light. She activated the armor's propulsion systems, the thrusters roaring to life with a fiery glow as she streaked toward the safety of the facility below, the warship's wreckage collapsing behind her in a supernova of light and debris. "Elara, do you copy?" Krax's voice cut through the calm, his tone fraught with tension. "Copy," she replied, her breath steadying. "Core destabilized. Ship's done for." "Understood," Krax said, his relief palpable. "We're clearing the remaining ground forces. Get back here in one piece." Elara smirked, her confidence returning as she approached the facility. The Virith armor hummed softly, its energy stabilizing after the harrowing escape. She landed on the facility's platform with a controlled grace, the armor systems powering down slightly as the immediate threat subsided. Ziktichar hurried to meet her, their mandibles clicking anxiously. "You did it," they said, their voice buzzing with awe. "I can't believe you survived." "Neither can I," Elara admitted, her tone light despite the exhaustion weighing on her. She glanced back at the wreckage of the warship, now a distant glow in the void. "But we're not done yet. If the Valtari wanted this armor that badly, they won't stop here." Ziktiachar's antennae twitched. "What do you mean?" Elara turned, her gaze steely. "We need to figure out why this armor chose me. And we need to do it fast." The facility's command center buzzed with overlapping voices, the faint hum of holographic displays blending with the occasional static from communication channels. As Elara stepped inside, the Virith armor still clinging to her like a second skin. Though her movements had slowed, her presence commanded immediate attention. Scientists and engineers turned toward her, their faces a mixture of awe and relief. Krax, standing at the central console, fixed her with a calculating gaze. "You're alive," he said, his voice neutral but his tail betraying his unease as it flicked sharply. "Against all odds you pulled it off. Was there ever any doubt?" Elara quipped, though exhaustion tinged her words. She stepped closer, her armored boots clinking softly against the metal floor. "The warship's done for," she said, her voice steady but tinged with urgency. "But the Valtari won't stop here. They wanted this armor for a reason, and I need to know why." Krax's gaze lingered on her for a moment before he gestured toward the holographic display. A detailed projection of the destroyed warship hovered above the console, data streams running alongside it. "We're analyzing the wreckage, but the Valtari systems were heavily encrypted. It'll take time to decode anything useful." "Time we don't have," Elara said firmly. "The armor's been different since the battle. It's trying to show me something but I can't make sense of it." Ziktichar, who had been hovering nervously nearby, clicked their mandibles. "Perhaps the armor's connection with you has evolved. If it's truly sentient, it may be attempting to communicate on a deeper level." Elara frowned. "Then we need to find a way to understand it. This isn't just a weapon. Something more. And if the Valtari wanted it, they know something we don't." The room fell silent as her words sank in. Finally, Krax sighed, his tail flicking again. "We'll focus all available resources on decoding the Valtari data. In the meantime, you need to rest. You won't be any use to us if you collapse." Elara wanted to argue, but the fatigue weighing on her body made her nod instead. "Fine. But wake me the moment you find anything." Hours later, Elara sat alone in her quarters. The Virith armor had retracted into its dormant state, its metallic plates forming a compact shell on the floor beside her. She stared at it, her mind racing. The connection she'd felt during the battle still lingered, like a faint echo in the back of her thoughts. She reached out hesitantly, her fingers brushing against the cool, unyielding surface, the metallic texture sending a faint tingle through her hand and sparking a wave of anticipation. The moment she made contact, a surge of energy coursed through her, and the room around her faded. She was standing in a void, surrounded by swirling lights and shapes that defied comprehension. The armor's presence enveloped her, no longer just a whisper but a resonant voice. You are chosen, it said, the words vibrating through her very being. Your world's resilience is unlike any we have encountered. This bond is not coincidence. It is necessity. Necessity for what? Ilara asked, her voice steady despite the surreal surroundings, though a tremor of awe and trepidation rippled through her chest. Why me? The lights shifted, forming images, a galaxy in turmoil, worlds consumed by war, and a shadowy force spreading across the stars. A great threat approaches. The Valtari sought to wield us for conquest. But our purpose is protection. Only one who embodies unity and adaptability can wield our power. Ilara's chest tightened. You think I can stop this? Not alone, the armor replied. Your strength lies not in might but in the bonds you forge. Together we must rally those who would stand against the coming darkness. The vision faded, leaving her breathless as she found herself back in her quarters. Her hand still rested on the armor, and the air around her seemed charged with a palpable sense of purpose. She exhaled shakily, the enormity of what she'd seen pressing down on her. The Virith protocol wasn't just a weapon, it was a call to arms. She stood, lifting the armor with ease and donning it once more. The plates reconfigured around her, their weight familiar and reassuring. She strode back to the command center, her resolve solidifying with every step. Krax looked up as she entered, his eyes narrowing. Couldn't sleep? No time for that, Ilara replied. The armor showed me something. There's a threat coming bigger than the Valtari. We need to prepare. Krax raised an eyebrow. And you trust what it showed you? Ilara met his gaze, her expression unwavering. I do. And if we don't act, it won't just be us that falls. It'll be everyone. The room went quiet again, but this time there was no doubt in their eyes. The Virith armor had chosen its wielder, and Ilara Quinn wasn't about to let it down. What's the plan? Krax asked finally. Ilara allowed herself a small smile. We start by uniting the galaxy, she said, her voice resolute. One ally at a time. And this time we lead by example. As the team mobilized, the facility's lights seemed to burn brighter, as if reflecting the renewed determination within. The Virith armor hummed softly, its energy syncing with Ilara's heartbeat. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy had a chance to fight back. And it all started with a human who refused to back down.